move on to topic number 2 tonight. And topic number 2 is another good one. We're sticking with F1 here. So, hey, give us a subscribe. Give us a like here as we deliver this F1 content here from the States, specifically from Boston, Massachusetts. So I would say, this Tsunoda and Red Bull controversy that came up in the Mexican Grand Prix, where Christian Horner is pretty much wanting to blame Red Bull's problems, let's call them, in qualifying on Yuki Tsunoda and the sister team Alfa Tauri.
Yeah, I mean, when it happened, I think we're all like, what are you doing? I mean, isn't this a team? I know that it's driving is somewhat of an individual sport, but this is a team between these drivers and the engineers and everybody involved. And then all of a sudden they just talk about, oh, he got Tsunoda'ed. I mean, like, what are you doing? This guy's young. He's fresh to the circuit. Like, this guy's going to be a star someday. Not quite there yet, but he will be. Like, what are you doing here? I mean, I think sometimes, Horner and some of these other guys are just afraid to criticize their top drivers, their own guys. Like, Verstappen's obviously one of the top 2 drivers in the circuit. So I think they're afraid to, like, ruffle his feathers because obviously he's got a little edge to him. Same thing with Perez, because Perez has been so good. He's actually been a good teammate too to Verstappen. But then you wait a couple of days and everybody comes out and says, actually, you know what, it wasn't Yuki's fault. Now that we really look at it, Tsunoda, should have been told by the engineers to get off the line earlier to let those guys go by him. Perez is actually the one that made the mistake, and actually the engineers are the ones to blame here. And, I think even Dr. Marco said that Tsunoda was not at fault. So you kind of got the, holy trinity of, this is not Yuki's fault, which I think should have been the call in the first place. Like, everybody's just pissed off that happened. I think it also helps that they finished 1-3 in the race too. So that certainly softens the blow for everybody to kind of look back at the qualifying critically and see what happened. So, it sounds like it was the engineer's fault first. Then Perez kind of screwed up because he flew off the line as well, like when he shouldn't have. And then they basically said, we should have told Yuki to get off the line sooner. Yuki was just trying to be a good teammate and get out of their way. So, it just seems like, it's got to be frustrating for a talented driver like Tsunoda, who says, I'm trying to be a good teammate. I'm trying to help you guys out. It's such a weird dynamic in racing because, you want to do as well as you can as an individual driver, but you're trying to help your team by just getting out of the way, even though you're talented enough to at least finish in the top 10, win a race, so forth. So I just think it's so unselfish for some of these drivers to just get out of the way, even though I know that's the strategy. So when you have a guy like Tsunoda do something like that, and then he gets reamed out when it's clearly not his fault, I just think Red Bull's got to really take a hard look in the mirror here.
Yeah, I think that was completely uncalled for and really unfair, specifically from Christian Horner, to go ahead and call out Yuki Tsunoda, one of his young drivers who's in the Red Bull Young Drivers program and is hopefully looking to make his way up to that Red Bull team, the main team. Right now, he's driving with the sister team, Alfa Tauri, but I'm sure his main goal is to get up to that Red Bull team. So to have your team principal or even your future team principal in your eyes criticize you that hard, especially when you did make the move to get out of the way, is heartbreaking, I would imagine, for a young driver. Definitely going to shake his confidence. And this is a guy that doesn't need his confidence shaken. It's already been shaken enough with the amount of DNFs that he's had, including in this Mexican Grand Prix. He was out in the first couple of corners, unfortunately for him. So on top of having to deal with the, bad publicity and the stress, hearing that the sister team is blaming you for their qualifying, then in the race, you have a bad race in DNF and don't even have a chance to score points. So I think Yuki's had himself a rough last couple of weeks here. And if anything, he needs some support from Christian Horner and from everyone around the team to say, hey, we know you're a great driver. We know you're going to get it done. Just keep pounding away and the pace will come. It's there. But instead, he's getting criticized on live TV, saying we got Tsunoda'ed. Like, what the heck was that? I really didn't appreciate it, honestly. I thought it was a bad call. And I'm telling you, I personally didn't think he did anything wrong. Even he didn't think he did anything wrong. He said, I didn't even know where else I could go and what else I could do at the time. When the engineers told him, hey, Red Bull's coming through, we need you to get off the line, it was a bad call by them. They should have delivered that information to him a lot earlier. He would have been able to speed up and get out of that section of the track and pull off to the right, which would have been a lot more serviceable for Perez and Verstappen coming through. Unfortunately, they delay that information getting to him, and he obviously is serving a engine penalty. So that was another reason people were saying that he shouldn't even have been in there. He was there to help his teammate Pierre Gasly get a tow in that part of qualifying. So he was doing his job as a teammate. Honestly, he had every right to be there. He didn't have to serve his penalty until race day. So they needed to deliver that information to him a lot faster so he could get out of the way. And then personally, I think Sergio Perez made the bigger mistake. Obviously, he saw that Yuki was off track. He was kicking up a lot of dust, and that drew his eye to Yuki, maybe not knowing where Yuki was going to take his car. At that point, Sergio has to trust that Yuki Tsunoda knows what's going on, that his team told him to get out of the way. That information came from Red Bull to get out of the way, by the way, and stick it in there, man. Just stick it in the corner and stay committed to your lap. Unfortunately, Perez bails on his lap, which I get it. To me, that is a 50-50. He bails on his lap, thinking that maybe Yuki's going to come back onto the track. Then here comes Verstappen coming through, and if it wasn't a double yellow, it possibly should have been. With two cars off track that close, Verstappen has to let off the gas. That ruins his lap. But nobody has any right to blame Yuki Tsunoda for any of that. The people that need to be looking in the mirror and blaming themselves is Red Bull, Christian Horner. You needed to deliver that information to the sister team a lot earlier, and their engineers needed to deliver that information to Yuki a lot earlier. So I tweeted out quickly after this that Honda needs to take notice of how Red Bull is pretty much treating Yuki Tsunoda, their young up-and-coming driver, and especially in Honda's eyes, their next king of F1 in their eyes. So Honda, take notice of Red Bull's incompetence when they're dealing with Yuki Tsunoda. Did we lose Pat? Oh, we might have lost Pat. We lost the shot caller, so that's all right. Well, I'll fill some time. Kudo, can you throw me up on the one cam there? Till we get the shot caller back? Get Ruzaman Reese in this as our other co-hosts. But unfortunately, we just lost the shot caller, Pat Flaherty, right there. And this is a live show. So, we do occasionally have technical difficulties, and this is one of them. And it happened, on the second part of the show. He said he's going to try to, his laptop just shut off on him. He's going to try to get it back on. So we should have him back here in a few minutes. Until then, we're going to just cover here and talk a little bit more F1, if that's all right with you, Producer Ben. And I want to talk a little bit more about the Tsunoda Red Bull situation at Mexico, honestly, because I personally think it's one of those things where they shouldn't have been complaining, especially when they know they have the best car on the grid. They knew that they were going to still win the race and go ahead and potentially get a P1 and P2 in the race. If it wasn't for the superb driving of Lewis Hamilton, pretty much all race holding off Sergio Perez, Red Bull would have had a guaranteed P1 and P2. Verstappen looked like he had a rocket up his butt at the Mexican Grand Prix. At times was 7 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who was in second place. So it was just really one of those things where I think Red Bull had nothing to complain about. What they really should have done is admitted that they were the ones to blame, that they didn't get the information to Alfa Tauri quick enough or to Yuki quick enough, suck up the qualifying and just, head down and get ready for the race on Sunday. I think that's something that they maybe will learn, because they've received a lot of bad press from this and the way that they handled Yuki Tsunoda. And that could also be the reason why they backtracked so fast over these last few days, and with Dr. Helmut Marko coming out and saying that they didn't blame Yuki and that Yuki was not at fault. But I don't know. I think that's all, like I said, backtracking. And I think they really need to look in the mirror for what their qualifying performance was. And that was on them. But they knew in the race they were going to have a quick car and they were going to be able to win the race, even from coming from where they were on the grid, which I believe was 3 and 4. It might have been 4 and 5, but I believe it was 3 and 4. So it's really one of those things where Red Bull, sometimes, I don't know, man, you complain about a lot. It's like the boy crying wolf. when they know they still have the best car on the grid, and it has been the best car all season long, with Max Verstappen leading over 500 laps of this F1 season. Lewis Hamilton is the next leader in laps, and I believe he's only in the 150 laps led. So that is crazy when we're talking about the gap in laps led there and the actual competition gap in the field. But it looks like we got the shot caller back here. We might just have to reshuffle some screens. So I'm going to come back and we're going to let, we're going to let shot caller. You might have to fill in here and we're going to reshuffle screens as I come back into the fold.
All right. Sorry about that, folks. I had personally some technical difficulties here. It is a GD mess here in my little studio, or whatever you want to call it, the bedroom that I'm in right now, to try to get this show going again. So I apologize to everybody across the board. I'm going to get this fixed. Hey, we're back up and running. That was so quick. That's because producer Ben is unbelievable, making the magic happen behind the scenes right there. And we're still on topic number 2 because Brandon was crushing it for so long. So why don't we finish up and say that this is it for topic number 2, because Brandon, the Coach Perry, is the guy you want to talk to when it comes to F1. So that's going to do it for topic number 2 here on Comeback Sports. That went so much better than I thought it was going to.